Part 4, Realm and Commonwealth by Stephen Spiers. Copyright 2018. Is there even liberty to change an arms presentation given its issue from a higher authority? From this, we can observe that at the core of relevant authority, we are back to two royal standards, royal ensigns that are very similar to each other. So to the ordinary, seem the same. What is not the same means that everything attached to them is different too. Here we have the law of arms at work. Thou shalt not present on a battlefield to disgrace someone else's arms by pretending to have the power of those imitated arms. What we have discovered is two kingdoms, two separate holy realms, two avenues of authority, wholly separate from each other. One born from Queen Victoria, passed through George V, and one we know very little about so far. Now we look back at the College of Arms, who through the Court of Chivalry or Court of Constable and Marshal uphold the law of arms. The Lord Lion of Scotland also has a process similar to deal with the problems of usurpation of arms. Usurp v.t f.fr.l. usurper to seize and hold in possession by force or without right. Usurpation, noun, act of seizing or occupying and enjoying the power or property of another without right. In this picture at the top, you can see the heralds of the College of Arms in England, bearing their royal standards on their jackets. They each display in the third quarter angel with swept-back wings. In the lower half of the picture, you can see the heralds of the Lord Lions of Scotland, bearing their royal standards also on their jackets. They each display in the third quarter harp with straight edge curve, with no angel present. From this we can see that the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of Scotland have different armories at the core of their royal ensigns or standards. These armories would contain histories of not only nobility, but also many families throughout history. If we look at the Scottish coat of arms, we also see the same shield bearing no angel on its harp with straight edge curved. We also note that the supporters are standing on ground, and it is topped with lion crowned. In the use of arms inside of Scotland, the supporters, the lion and unicorn, appear reversed. We make an important note here, which we will demonstrate shortly, in that certain events have not occurred yet in the Balfour declarations and post-Imperial conference changes, although we can assume that Lord Balfour had some arrangement prior given allegedly correct correspondence with Lord Rothschild. In the letter dated November 1917, Lord Balfour expresses sympathy to a Jewish homeland within Palestine. King George V contributes to this shuffle on the world stage by proclaiming to style and title, renouncing all other styles and titles from outside of the realm in which Queen Victoria had laid out before him. As mentioned previously, her legacy is mentioned 3 times in George V's style and title relative to the imperial crown in 1917. Proclamation declaring the name to be borne by His Majesty's Royal House and family and relinquishing all German titles, London, July 17, 1917. Source S.R. and O.Rev. December 31, 1948, volume 2, page 800. By the King. A proclamation declaring that the name of Windsor is to be borne by his royal house and family and relinquishing the use of all German titles and dignities. George R.I. Whereas we having taken into consideration the name and title of our royal house and family, have determined that henceforth our house and family shall be styled and known as the House and Family of Windsor. And whereas we have further determined for ourselves and for and on behalf of our descendants and all other the descendants of our grandmother, Queen Victoria of blessed and glorious memory, to relinquish and discontinue the use of all German titles and dignities. And whereas we have declared these our determinations in our Privy Council, now therefore we, out of our royal will and authority, do hereby declare and announce that as from the date of this our royal proclamation, our house and family shall be styled and known as the House and Family of Windsor, and that all the descendants in the male line of our said grandmother, Queen Victoria, who are subjects of these realms, other than female descendants who may marry or may have married, shall bear the said name of Windsor. And do hereby further declare and announce that we, for ourselves, and for and on behalf of our descendants, and all other the descendants of our said grandmother Queen Victoria, who were subjects of these realms, relinquish and rejoin the discontinuance of the use of the degrees, styles, dignitaries, titles and honours of dukes and duchesses of Saxony and princes and princesses of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, and all other German degrees, styles, dignities, titles, honours, and appellations to us or to them heretofore belonging or appertaining. Given at our court at Buckingham Palace this 17th day of July, in the year of our Lord 1917, and in the 80th year of our reign. God save the King. We know that out of the post-war haze, the mandate for Palestine also shifted British rule over what was British Palestine, and since become Israel, self-proclaimed through the Acts of 1948 and the Six-Day War in 1967. We notice a change of the realm, reflected by its royal standard or royal ensign, which we have demonstrated to stem from two armories of heralds, that of the College of Arms in England and the Lord Lions of Scotland. We've demonstrated that within the Commonwealth, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, which can demonstrate to have existed post-changes, has been changes before any significant changes to the kingdom itself. We do also notice that severe changes are being made inside the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, with letters and associated actions demonstrating something coming. But now we have dated a change in coat of arms before any change to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and under the Commonwealth of Australia in Government Gazette. A different realm had taken executive control of the Australian government. It doesn't reflect Acts Interpretation Act 1966, as can be seen at Section 18, for an action that occurred in May of 1925. Everything is back to front, which can only mean that one thing pushed the others. The Act still describes the former, which we have demonstrated without doubt to be the coat of arms displaying angel with back-sweeping wings, being the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and the root of the authority, from the motherland into the sun, the Commonwealth of Australia, as detailed atop Old Parliament House, as well as in other key monuments around the country. And as inherited by Edward VII and George V through Queen Victoria, shown through Armoury catalogues to have been inherited from George I without certain heraldic elements. This is important because in 1926, heads of the empire sat down at imperial conferences to discuss how to deal with the situation of the empires as a whole post-World War I. On the one hand, the countries within the realm are told that they have won and prospered. This is truly so for the Commonwealth of Australia, having put by self-determination and by the loss of Anzac the Commonwealth of Australia on an international stage, although we would see a dark side to it. The United Kingdom was renamed following the Imperial Conference 1926, and the Empire split into separate dominions. It is in this division that we see light at the end of the tunnel for the Commonwealth of Australia. It is in what the Anzac did for us by self-determining a homeland for the sons and daughters of the realm to enjoy the fruits of a Commonwealth which prospered from mines, forests, fisheries and agriculture. The fracturing of an empire left by King George V, a legacy in an imperial crown to bestow to a people now being divided by the emergence of a foreign realm. An act to provide for the alteration of the royal style and titles and of the style of Parliament and for the purpose incidental thereto. 17 Geo.5.c.4 bracket 12th April 1927 close bracket. Section 1 repealed, SLR 1950. Section 2 repealed in part, SL bracket R bracket 1977, C 18, S.1 bracket 1 bracket, SCR.1 part, X1X interpretation, 1978, C.30, S25 bracket 1 bracket, SCH.3. Be it enacted by the King's most excellent Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Lords Spiritual and Temporal and Commons in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. 1. It shall be lawful for His Most Gracious Majesty, by his royal proclamation under the Great Seal of the realm, issued within 6 months after the passing of this Act, to make such alteration in the style and titles at present appertaining to the Crown as to His Majesty may seem fit. 2-1. Parliament shall hereafter be known as and styled the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and accordingly the present Parliament shall be known as the 34th Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, instead of the 34th Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. 2. In every Act passed and the public document issued after the passing of this Act, the expression United Kingdom shall, unless the context otherwise requires, mean Great Britain and Northern Ireland. 3. The Act may be cited as the Royal and Parliamentary Titles Act 1927. Following the name change by style and title, King George V did something very unique by following suit a month later, defining the style and title of the office of the King post changes to the kingdom in the previous royal styles and title. Proclamation by His Majesty the King altering the style and titles appertaining to the Crown. London, May 13, 1927. Bracket. British and Foreign State Papers, Volume 126, page 44, citing the London Gazette, May 13, 1927. Bracket. George R.I. Whereas by the Royal and Parliamentary Titles Act 1927, it is enacted that it shall be lawful for us, by our royal proclamation under the Great Seal of the realm, issued within 6 months after the passing of the said Act, to make such alteration in the style and titles at present appertaining to the Crown as to us may seem fit. And whereas our present style and titles are, in the Latin tongue, Georgius Vidae Gratia Britanniam et Terranium Transmanarium quae inditionem sunt Britannia Rex, Fidei Defensor Indiae Imperator. And in the English tongue, George V, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and of the British Dominions, beyond the sea, Kings, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. And whereas we have received a recommendation from the representatives of our governments in conference assembled that our styles and titles should be altered as in manner hereinafter appearing, we have thought fit, and we do hereby appoint and declare, by and with the advice of our Privy Council, that henceforth, so far as conveniently may be, on all occasions and in all instruments wherein our style and titles are used, the following alteration shall be made in the style and titles at present appertaining to the Crown. That is to say, in the Latin tongue, for the word Britannium, there shall be substituted the words Magnae Britae Hibernae, and in the English tongue for the words the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and of the words Great Britain, Ireland, and. Given at our court at Buckingham Palace this 13th day of May, and in the year of our Lord 1927, and in this 18th year of our reign, God save the King. We would now, what many would think, have two named kingdoms out of all this. But alas, we look a little further and we discover something else that seems a little confusing, and we might be unsettling, given the law of arms being so specific on the display, use, and usurpation of arms. We have now got a renamed kingdom, that in 1927, the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland granted a change to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. A subtle change, as with the coat of arms. Most would not notice anything had happened at all, let alone the importance to the core of what would be the realm. In passing this act, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland then awaited the King to produce style and titles relevant to parliamentary change. This is the key point in how the King expresses the realm relative to those parliamentary changes. We can note in the wording of the style and title, George V very specifically fractured the empire into separate kingdoms. From whence there was once realm, there became near 50 kingdoms. Lord Balfour's declaration stated to divide what was once under one realm, an Imperial conference saw to managing that division, leading to the Parliament creating a name change to become something new from the former. From the wording in the Latin tongue for the word Britannium, there shall be substituted the words Magnae Britanniae Hibernae, and in the English tongue for the words the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and of the words Great Britain, Ireland, and. We can see that the King has fractured the kingdom, changing the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland into Great Britain, Ireland, and. This is important because the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland renamed itself only a month earlier to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. After World War I, Ireland had ended peace negotiations with the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland to produce the Treaty of Ayr in 1921. We have a Parliament annexing Northern Ireland into its governance, yet we have the King of royal style and titles separating Ireland out as its own dominion. The Imperial crown is fractured, yet the Parliament of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland continues alongside a newly formed Commonwealth of British nations. What is interesting to note is that Great Britain, Ireland, Australia, Canada all became separate kingdoms, yet the Parliament in Great Britain was renamed to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, as if it is annexed to the Parliament and not reflected in style and title. We have had change in the Commonwealth of Australia by Royal Ensign displayed on coats of arms in Government Gazette 2 years earlier, and note the specifics of this royal authority stemming through Queen Victoria and why change in 1925 is of importance under the strict jurisdiction of the law of arms. Canada was issued with a coat of arms under the Imperial Crown in royal style and title specific to Canada's receiving of said arms. Yet the Commonwealth of Australia is somewhat different. King George V left the Commonwealth of Australia to open Parliament House at the same time and to operate under the royal arms of Queen Victoria. Proclamation concerning the Ensigns Armorial of the Dominion of Canada, November 21, 1921. Source: S.R.O. and O. Revision, December 31, 1948, Volume 2, page 801. By the King, a proclamation declaring His Majesty's pleasure concerning the Ensigns Armorial of the Dominion of Canada, George R.I. Whereas we have received a request from the Governor-General in Council of our Dominion of Canada that the arms or ensigns armorial hereinafter described should be assigned to our said Dominion, we do hereby, by and with the advice of our Privy Council, and in exercise of the powers conferred by the first article of the Union with Ireland Act 1800, appoint and declare that the arms and ensigns armorial of the Dominion of Canada shall be terced in fesse, the first and second divisions containing the quarterly coat following, namely, first gules 3 lions passant guardian in pale, or second, or a lion rampant within the double tresher flory counter flory guiles, third, azure a harp or stringed argent, fourth, azure 3 fleur de lis, or, and the third division argent 3 maple leaves, co-joined on 1 stem proper. And upon a royal helmet mantled argent, doubled gills, the crest. That to say, on a wreath of the colours argent and gules a lion, passant guardant or imperially crowned proper, and holding in the dexter paw a maple leaf guiles. And for supporters on the dexter a lion rampant, or holding a lance argent, point or flying therefrom to the dexter the Union flag, and on the cinster a unicorn argent, armed, crined, and unguiled, or gored, with a coronet composed of cross-patee and fleur de lis, a chain affixed thereto, reflexed of the last, and holding the like lance flying therefrom to the sinister, a banner azure 3 or, the whole ensigned with the imperial crown proper, and below the shield, upon a wreath composed of roses, thistles, shamrocks, and lilies, a scroll azure inscribed with the motto, Amar Uresque Admar. And our will and pleasure further is that the arms or ensigns armorial aforesaid shall be used henceforth, as far as convenient may be, on all occasions wherein the said arms or ensigns armorial of the Dominion of Canada ought to be used. Given at our court at Buckingham Palace this 21st day of November in the year of our Lord 1921, and in the 12th year of our reign, God save the King. Now we look at the House of Lords in London, wherein the Queen's throne room is found. The throne room is filled with regalia fit for a king, clad in gold and red and purple. Coats of arms are painted in multiple locations surrounding the throne. A large coat of arms is displayed behind the throne, although we see something that is again amiss. It is different to the 2 we have already revealed. We now have a third royal ensign. This time very similar again, although in the third quarter, displaying a different harp yet again, the leading edge of the harp having markings down it. In smaller images, these look like little flames or hooks, but when you look closely at the harp's edge, they are actually 3-leaved shamrocks. It is different to the heralds' uniforms displayed for the College of Arms and the Lord Lions of Scotland. Now we have a harp with shamrocks down the side. The shamrock has always been the heraldic symbol for Ireland within the United Kingdom. Could this be linked to the Ulster in Ireland? Or would it have been used by the College of Arms in England, given the change to Royal Style and Parliamentary Titles Act 1927, renaming to Northern Ireland? This coat of arms, assumed now to be the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, not in accordance with Royal Style and Title 1927, issued 1 month after the Royal Style and Parliamentary Title Act 1927. We can see here a St Edward's crown atop the current used coat of arms of the Supreme Court of Victoria, as viewed in front of the court buildings in Melbourne in 2016. Here we can see a Supreme Court of Victoria court stamp, date unknown, displaying a different crown, although over the royal ensign of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The use of the crown used above this stamp would need to be clarified with the Earl Marshal of the College of Arms. This now also conflicts with the state of New South Wales, as has been demonstrated to display a differing coat of arms within its courtrooms. This would fracture the authority from the Commonwealth into the state, as is detailed in Clause 5 and Clause 8 and the Constitution itself at Clause 9. The Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, July 1900, UK/PGA, brought all the colonies together in a federal commonwealth, stemming authority down from that commonwealth. What we have here is 3 differing coat of arms, giving 3 definitive lines of authority, wherein there should only have been one directly through the Governor-General, Attorney General, Solicitor General, and Postmaster General, born from the office of Governor General under the Great Seal of the Commonwealth of Australia. We can see by the discovery of the Great Seal of New South Wales from the National Archives that the coat of arms of New South Wales is featured under the royal arms under an imperial crown. This differs greatly to what is presented in the New South Wales courtroom, and is now in confusion with 2 other royal arms. In light of what is presented, one could assume that the Court of New South Wales is in a Scottish realm. The Supreme Court of Victoria is in the realms of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland was in existence practically until at least 1973, when it was removed from Act's Interpretation Act 1966 in 1973 under Queen Elizabeth II. Although now we have 2 avenues of royal ensign, and the fact that the Balfour declarations fractured the realm, severing the Commonwealth of Australia into its own sovereignty, yet displaying the royal arms, including angel on harp with back-sweeping wings, which is displayed on Old Parliament House in full regalia at its opening and first sitting in May 1927. This occurred after the renaming of the United Kingdom to the newly named Northern Ireland, and shows conflict with the coat of arms used at the House of Lords, wherein the Queen sits as the head of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Commonwealth of British Nations. Here you can see 3 separate holy realms. On the left, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. In the middle, the Kingdom of Scotland as presented outside of Scotland, and on the right, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Why is the Commonwealth of Australia, which is a creation by the body of Christ, giving a voice of God as the sons of the forefathers, intertwined with 3 separate roots of authority? When the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, July 1900, UK/PGA, was born from only one of these roots of authority, and constitutes the self-governance of an estate for and on behalf of men of the realm as beneficiaries to that estate, which can only be on authority from the Commonwealth down through the states and territories as united federally. Why are two additional realms not following a line of authority through the Constitution Act in relation to the states and Clause 5 of the Constitution, as well as the repeal of colonial boundary acts? This would have something to do with the Statute of Westminster Adoption Act 1942 and following the Australia Act 1986, which follows a large trail of burden on the Commonwealth of Australia from as early as 1902 through to current day. The changing of the Parliament of the Commonwealth of Australia into the Australian Government. Before attempts to summarise what is happening, we should look at some events that had occurred throughout the Commonwealth of Australia's history and the use of its flags in international waters as well as at home on land. Flags are directly relative to naval or maritime activity and are linked to the royal authority in the same way coats of arms and great seals are. Before Federation, groups of people throughout the states were using a flag similar to the colonial flag that had been used to denote the colonies of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. This was based on the naval ensign of His Majesty's fleet to use throughout the Commonwealth of Australia until 1967, after the Currency Act 1965 removed the value from the Commonwealth and the Reserve Bank Act 1959 was put into action after the failure of the Commonwealth Bank to manage a debt-sinking fund 1923, leading to a change in currency in 1966 and the removal of valuable metal from the coinage. The Royal Naval Ensign features at the Shrine of Remembrance and is an indicator of the realm to which Anzac, whom are remembered in the crypts of the shrine, defended and spilt blood so that you may live by still waters. The Shrine of Remembrance is a central structure to all that, yet outside of the scope of this paper. It would be best to separate the revelation of what the shrine and King's Domain represents into a paper unto its own. Herein we look at the state of affairs that's surrounding the Commonwealth of Australia at this time and some key points of history that reveal what happened to see to get us here.